All right, Shalom. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson. But before I get started, as always, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabushai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who ruled and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. Shalom. And I'm going to just get straight into it with 2nd Esdras chapter 5. I'm going to start at verse 50. And I asked and said, seeing thou hast now given me the way, I will proceed to speak before thee, for our mother, of whom thou hast told me that she is young, draweth now nigh unto age. He answered me and said, ask a woman that bare children, and she shall tell thee. Say unto her, wherefore are not they whom thou hast now brought forth like those that were before, but less of stature? And she shall answer thee, they that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion, and they that be born in the time of age, when the womb faileth, are otherwise. And we know that when the younger a woman is when she has children, that's the healthier and stronger and more mentally capable those children are, as opposed to a woman having children in her, let's say, mid to late 30s all the way up. Hey, the children are weaker physically, mentally, and then you can have a lot of health complications start to come into play. I reread verse 3. And she shall answer thee, they that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion, and they that are born in the time of age when the womb faileth are otherwise. Consider thou therefore also how that ye are of less stature than those that were before you, and so are they that come after you less than ye, as the creatures which now begin to be old and have passed over the strength of youth. So what these verses are saying, and what the angel was telling Esdras, is that those that were before you were of a higher stature, and they were taller, they were stronger, and they were more mentally capable. And this was a couple of thousand years ago. So how much more now are the people of these days shorter, weaker, and less mentally capable? This is in the scriptures. People in the past were just in a much better case than people are nowadays. And even the earth as a whole was in a much stronger case than it is nowadays. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 14, verse 10. For the world has lost his youth, and the times begin to wax old. So again, not only have people become less of stature and weaker as time has progressed, but the world itself has been in the same case. And I opened up the video with these verses to preface an article from endoftheamericandream.com titled, Humanity is in the midst of a mutational meltdown that is causing us to become smaller, slower, and dumber, a year of less stature than those that were before you. The scriptures is the ultimate historical, scientific, and prophetic document out there. Is the best word I can think of right now. And if you want to have a complete understanding of anything, you need a complete understanding of the scriptures. It covers every aspect of life, in the past, in the present, and of the future. Scientists in the past would go to the Bible first as a reference point for any ideas they had, but in this increasingly atheistic, and as we can clearly see, dumbed down society we live in, these Edomites, or so-called white people that are in rulership right now, want to cast the Bible to the side and come up with all these theories and hypotheses as to why things are the way they are, which, as we get closer and closer to the end of Esau's rulership, we see more and more that he's not this hyper-intelligent, top of the food chain person that he's portrayed throughout history. And a lot of these ideas and scientific methods he has is just pseudoscience. but I'll show an image, Slovakia, of the article right here. And it's again on endoftheamericandream.com. And like I said, hey, a thorough understanding of the scriptures is better than any other education you can get out here. And you even had that devil, President Theodore Roosevelt, say that. And I'll get that quote. This is a quote from Theodore or Teddy Roosevelt. A thorough knowledge of the Bible is worth more than a college education. And even that Edomite could see that. But hey, that just goes to show, even hey, around 100 or so years ago, those people were of more stature than people are nowadays. It's very easy to see that at this point, humanity is at the lowest it's ever been. People are just brain dead, moronic zombies out here. They're more concerned with social media, TikTok, Instagram, gossip, the phone, all this other bullshit out here instead of actual real knowledge and understanding. They've got a video out there on a YouTube channel where a guy goes around and asks people questions like, where is the Great Wall of China located? What country is the Great Wall of China located in? And people get that wrong when the answer is in the question. Just further showing that people are mentally feeble out here, and physically feeble out here as well. We can clearly see that people are just weak with a whole host of physical ailments they've got. And that's what we're about to go into with this article. It's saying people have become smaller, slower, and dumber. Because again, as it said in 2 Esdras chapter 5, verses 50 to 55, those in the past were of a higher stature than those that would come afterwards. We like to think of ourselves as the pinnacle of human existence, but the truth is that humans have been getting smaller, slower, and dumber for quite a while. So why is this happening? Over time, human DNA has accumulated an enormous amount of deleterious mutations, and each new generation adds even more. Our DNA is essentially an instruction manual, and these deleterious mutations are essentially spelling mistakes in that manual. Eventually, there will be so many mistakes that our instruction manual is simply not functional any longer, and that is a major problem. What this means is that the clock is running down on the human race, and that is a reality that most people don't want to face. And it goes into some of Esau's sciences, which, hey, like I was saying earlier, a lot of that is pseudosciences. So I wouldn't rely too much on the information that these scientists are going to say in this article. But regardless, we're going to go by what the scriptures say, the true science out there, which that term science simply means to know. And what the scriptures, the true science say, is that people of today are of a less stature than people were of the past, which is what this article is going to go into. And hey, a lot of, especially now, during this little season of Esau's rulership, people have definitely become a weaker, smaller, and less intelligent due to all these things that Esau does to the environment. Chemtrails in the sky, pouring pollution into the oceans, GMO foods, and selling Wi-Fi radiation giving people cancer. These wayward, pseudoscientific doctrines and philosophies that Esau puts out to dumb the people down. Capitalism, feminism, democracy, socialism, communism, the list goes on. And as it says in Genesis chapter 4, which deals with the curses that Cain would receive, that the earth would get weaker and not yield up its strength to him. And we know through the reincarnation that Cain, who slew Abel, is Esau, or the Edomites today, so-called white people. So those very same curses that applied to Cain, they apply to these Edomites today. And as it says in Job chapter 9, verse 24, the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked, and the wicked, the border of wickedness, as pursuant to Malachi 1, verse 4, are the Edomites. But let's get it. This is Genesis chapter 4. I'll start at verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him, because Cain was mad at Abel for giving the proper sacrifice to the Most High. Abel gave the firstlings of his flock as a sacrifice to the Most High, while Cain gave some vegetables that he tilled from the field, showing that Cain was just in a wrong spirit, contrary to the ways of the Most High. And these Edomites are in the very same stead. They do everything clean contrary to the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Verse 9, and Yahweh said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. So when the Cainites would till the ground or work in the earth wouldn't yield forth its full strength unto them. And now with the Edomites, who are the Cainites in the reincarnation, who have control in the earth, and they cultivate the ground and manipulate the earth, and what? The earth has become weaker for it, and hence the people have become weaker in the earth. Again, as it said in that second Esdras chapter 14, verse 10, for the world hath lost his youth, and the times begin to wax old. And I'm gonna get this in the blue letters so I can get the words for it. This is Isaiah 24. I'm gonna start at verse 4. The earth mourneth and fadeth away, and the world that was as of old has lost its youth and waxed old. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. And when we get that word languisheth in the Strongs, it's H535, amal, to be weak, to droop, to languish, to be exhausted, to be weak, to be or grow feeble. And why is that? Verse 5, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. And remember, the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked, the border of wickedness right now, the biblical Edomites, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant. And as it said back in Genesis chapter 4, for Cain slaying his brother Abel, the earth would not yield up its strength unto him. And again, that's another connection to Cain and Esau. Cain gave the wrong sacrifice unto the Most High. And these Edomites, he transgressed the laws, they changed the ordinances, and these Edomites do the very same thing today. They do everything clean contrary to the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Hence, the earth is not yielding up its strength unto these Edomites and is languishing, getting weak under them. And with that being the case, the entire planet and the people in it are suffering under Esau's rulership. This is Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. When the true children of Israel, who are known as you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, are back in power in the kingdom of heaven, beginning with the elect of the nation of Israel, we're going to do everything according to the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Like Abel gave the correct sacrifice unto the Most High, and this planet is going to flourish. It's going to be like the Garden of Eden in the past, but in this case, even better. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn because they've transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, and broken the everlasting covenants, done everything clean contrary to the ways of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, causing the earth to languish and the people in it to languish and become physically weaker, more sick, and more moronic out here. And then on top of that, we know through the scriptures that in general, people are less capable, they're of less stature than their forefathers were in the past. But one more precept, and we'll finally get into this article. If this Edomite wasn't taken out of power and was allowed to rule indefinitely, then this planet would eventually become a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland, which you can clearly see that's on that's the road it's on right now. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 22. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. The Most High has set up bounds that this Edomite cannot pass, and he's just about reached them, and he's about to be taken out of power, and the rightful rulers of the planet, the children of Israel, beginning with the elect, are going to be put in power, back in power, ruling in the kingdom of heaven. And again, as it said in Proverbs 29, verse 2, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Hey, here's just another example of the true science being the scriptures. It says, and except those days should be shortened. Hey, there were some scientists that came out recently saying that the Earth's rotation has sped up, so the days are literally becoming shorter. Hey, these ways of man finally catching up to what the scriptures have been saying for thousands of years. But now, Slovakia, let's get into this article. Without further ado, I know that a lot of you are already confused, so let me take this one step at a time. According to a recent BBC article, human brains are now significantly smaller than they were thousands of years ago. Your ancestors had bigger brains than you. Several thousand years ago, humans reached a milestone in their history. The first known complex civilizations began to emerge. The people walking around and meeting in the world's earliest cities would have been familiar in many ways to modern urbanites today. But since then, human brains have actually shrunk slightly. The lost volume on average would be roughly equivalent to that of 4 ping pong balls, says Jeremy De Silva, an anthropologist at Dartmouth College in the US. And according to an analysis of the cranial fossils, which he and colleagues published last year, the shrinkage started just 3,000 years ago. So does that mean we are getting dumber? Well, yes, that is what some scientists believe. The following comes from NPR. The experts aren't sure about the implications of this evolutionary trend. Some think it might be a dumbing down process. And again, evolution, as Esau talks about it with the theory of evolution and Darwinism, is all just more pseudoscience. One cognitive scientist, David Geary, argues that as human society grows increasingly complex, individuals don't need to be as intelligent in order to survive and reproduce. And hey, even this technology we have right now that has so-called made people's lives easier has actually been a detriment to them. It's made them weaker and less intelligent. And I remember When I was in college, there was this essay we had to do where we had to interpret one or another image. And the first image dealt with a vending machine. It was something simple. But then the second image showed a caveman. He was a hunter-gatherer with a spear. Then he moved to the wheel, chiseling the wheel. Then he moved to some medieval person walking upright with some clothing on. Then it moved to a modern-day businessman. Then it went to a hunched-over guy on a computer with, I guess, modern-day looking clothing. And then it went to a caveman again, but instead of having a spear or chiseling a wheel, he had a cell phone in his hand. And it was supposed to be interpreted as technology, more reliance on technology, making us less intelligent out here. Hey, just an example, showing that people have become less mentally capable and more feeble out here, less of stature than their forefathers and ancestors. Whether we want to admit it or not, brain size matters. A chicken is never going to be as smart as a dog, and a dog is never going to be as smart as a human. And as our brains continue to shrink, humans will just keep getting dumber and dumber. If you doubt this, just go back and try to read the writings of our founding fathers. Most Americans today can barely understand what they are trying to say. And most Americans today can barely understand this common English we use now. And that is extremely unfortunate. It turns out that we are also getting slower. A book by anthropologist Peter McAllister, Manthropology, The Science of the Inadequate Modern Male, analyzes fossilized footprints left behind by 6 male Australian Aborigines some 20,000 years ago. And the Earth isn't 20,000 years ago, and it damn sure ain't 100 million to 1 billion years old. That's just more pseudoscience by Esau Edom. According to the true science, the scriptures, we know that the first 7 days of creation, the 7th day being a day of rest, were 1,000 years each. So that's 7,000 years. And then some of the oldest recordings of human documentation go back about 5,000 years. So that's 12,000 years. And then let's give a few variables here and there to say that the Earth is about 13,000 to 14,000 years old at the latest. And concludes that one of them was running at 37 kph, only 5 kph slower than Usain Bolt was traveling at when he ran the 100 meters in world record time of 9.69 seconds in Beijing. This is without hours of deliberate training or spiked running shoes. This was barefoot and in soft mud. Given modern conditions, the same man, dubbed T8, could have, says McAllister, reached speeds of 45 kph. The book also refers to Tutsi initiation ceremonies from just a century ago, 100 years ago. Young men had to jump their own height as part of the ceremony, with some of them jumping as high as 2.52 meters. The world record is 2.45 meters. Okay, so just over the span of 100 years, that just goes to show how much people are of less stature than their forefathers. People in the past were, the average person in the past was running as fast as a Olympic level sprinter. Other scientists have come up with similar conclusions. In fact, one researcher at Cambridge University claims that even our very best athletes would pale in comparison to our ancestors from thousands of years ago. You're of less stature than those that came before you. Even our most highly trained athletes pale in comparison to these ancestors of ours, Dr. Colin Shaw told Outside Magazine. We're certainly weaker than we used to be. The study looked at skeletons dating back around 5300 BC with the most recent to 850 AD, a time span of 6,150 years. It then compared the bones to the Cambridge University students and found the leg bones of male farmers of 5300 BC were just as good as those of highly trained cross-country runners. And I actually used this video, I actually used an article with this information in a video I did about a year ago dealing with the same subject. And they showed I think they showed an image of the skeleton, and the skeleton was bigger, taller, because people were taller in the past. When you hear these people talking about the giants or the Nephilim or anything like that, those weren't fallen angels. Those were simply taller people back then with denser and stronger bones and more muscle mass. And really, the Nephilim or the fallen ones, the giants, they really go into the sons of God back then before they were known as the children of Israel. And they fell by dealing with the daughters of men, the heathens back then, and learning after their philosophies and ways and not following after the ways of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi. And as a quick side note, I know some people will say, well, see, that's why we can't deal with heathen women out there. It's against the law. It's not against the law to deal with heathen women. There's a whole law on how to deal with heathen women accordingly in Deuteronomy 21. What the scriptures do say when dealing with the women of the other nations is not to be so enamored by them that you follow after their philosophies and ways and fall off like the giants from the ways of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi. They're simply supposed to be concubines or second wives to you. They're supposed to cleave unto your ways and follow after your power. But at least we have gotten taller over time, right? Wrong. We may be taller than many of the impoverished people that lived through the Middle Ages, but that was just because of a lack of proper nutrition. Shit, it's a lack of proper nutrition now. Here you have people living vegetarian and vegan diets and eating lean meats and all that, but you still have to take supplements to get all the nutrients. What kind of sense is that? Nutrients is supposed to naturally come from meats and vegetables and plants out here. But with the wicked bearing rule, the earth is fading and languishing under his rulership. Just like with Cain in the past, when he tills the ground, it doesn't give up its strength or its nutrients unto him. If you go back several thousand years, our ancestors were much larger and much taller than we are today. An earlier study by Cambridge University found that mankind is shrinking in size significantly. Experts say humans are past their peak and that modern-day people are 10% smaller and shorter than their hunter-gatherer ancestors. But I thought in this modern-day age, this scientific era, this technologically advanced era, humanity is at the peak of civilization. My ass. And if that's not depressing enough, our brains are also smaller. The findings reverse perceived wisdom, pseudosciences, that humans have grown taller and larger, a belief which has grown from data on more recent physical development. The decline, said scientists, has happened over the past 10,000 years. They blame agriculture with restricted diets and urbanization, compromising health and leading to the spread of disease. Shit, that's pretty much it with this article. You get the point. As we can clearly see, people are of less stature and less intelligence, strength than they were in the past. Now I'm gonna give another quick example just to show the level people were on in the past as compared to today. This is 2 Samuel chapter 12. I'm gonna read verses 29 to 30. And David, speaking of King David, gathered all the people together and went to Rabbah, which was a city of the Ammonites, who are known as the so-called Japanese people today, and fought against it and took it. And he took their king's crown from off his head. The weight thereof was a talent of gold with the precious stones, and it was set on David's head. And he brought forth the spoil of the city in great abundance. Now let's see what the weight of a biblical talent in the Old Testament would be today. And remember, this was the weight of the crown of the king of Ammon that King David took and put upon his head. On Google, how much did a biblical talent weigh in the Old Testament? In the Old Testament, the word talent appears when describing how much gold the Israelites used to build the tabernacle. It was a unit of measurement for weighing precious metals like silver and gold, and it weighed about 75 pounds. And do you think you could, well, some people out there can't even pick that up, pick up 75 pounds and just lay it on your head and just walk around like things are normal with a 75-pound crown on your head? Of course not. That's just a further clear indicator on how much weaker people are today as compared to the past. And the elder brother was telling me, other brother down here, Yakina, was telling me that he saw a video of our apostle elders where they went to, I guess it had to have been up north because that's where they're at, a museum, which had the crown of David and his shield. And they said that in the video, when they showed the crown, it was literally the rim of a basketball goal. So imagine how big that cranium was. And with a cranium that big, you can see how somebody would be able to wear a 75-pound crown upon their head. And the brother also said that they showed the shield of David, and emblazoned on the shield, they had an image of David wrestling with like a lion. And he said that David looked like the Hulk. That's how yoked up he was. And then I also saw a video of the apostles where they went to another museum showing furniture and doors from the medieval period when Jake was ruling in Europe. And the apostle Ariamlab with one of the doors, imagine me standing up and holding my hand up like as far as I can reach it, and that is where the door handle was. And they also went by an armoire or a chest with the drawers in it, and it was taller than them, just showing how tall people were in the past. All right, let me see. Where do I want to go now? So, and me and the brothers had talked about this before. Down here at the New Orleans Museum of Art, or NOMA, they had an exhibit. I believe it was on Nefertiti. So one of those Egyptian queens in the past, and they had a bunch of sarcophaguses and papyrus and steles in there. And me and my brothers were just speculating that who knows if the shit in this museum is even the real stuff, because the sarcophaguses and little jars and drinking cups they had in there would be stuff that people of normal height, so-called normal height, would use today. But as we've been going through this article and as we've been going through in the scriptures, people in the past were much taller and stronger. So, and Nefertiti was like thousands of years ago. So, it's very, and knowing Esau, how as it says in Psalms 58 verse 3, the wicked are estranged from the womb. Those artifacts in there, could have been counterfeits. They could be hiding the real shit in their own personal collections, which show sarcophaguses that are like 14 feet tall for 14 feet people, and drinking vessels that are the size of a damn 7.5 milliliter wine bottle, which that's enough for like 4 people to drink, but one person just had that as their regular glass. that's just food for thought. A lot of the stuff you see out here is just like Esau's pseudosciences, just fabrications and falsehoods. But now I'm gonna close it out with a second article on theedgemarkets.com titled Future Humans May Evolve. And remember, Esau Edom's idea of evolution is pseudoscience. To have deformed bodies from overusing technology, says study. And in this article, well, we'll just get into it. Hunched back, clawed hands, and second eyelids could be common features of human anatomy in the future, as evident from a computer model derived from recent research. A study commissioned by Los Angeles-based telecommunications provider tollfreeforwarding.com warns that overusing technology could be steering human evolution in a direction that leaves people looking deformed. And as I said in that first article, our over-reliance on technology has made us mentally and physically weaker than our forefathers. And this is just a computer model making speculations. So I'm not going to put 100% stake in this, but let's say that society did continue hundreds of years into the future. We know that those of the future would be of less stature than we are today, as we're of less stature than those in the past. So it wouldn't be hard to believe that the people of the future would just be a completely different looking race of humans than we are today. Some mongrelized, short, retarded humanoids. But I'll show a image. Here's the article right here. And here's an image of what this computer model speculated humans may look like. And whenever Esau uses these AI programs to predict things in the future, it's always something negative. It's never anything positive. So even Esau's own technology knows that his rulership is a detriment to humanity. A couple of months ago, they asked AI what the future of humanity would look like, or what the last selfies taken by humans would look like. And it showed images of people in the midst of a nuclear conflict. You had the mushroom cloud in the back, and people with sullen, worn out looking faces taking a selfie. The next image was their skin melting off, and the last image was just a skeleton left. And except those days should be shortened, no flesh would be saved. But here's what this computer model predicted humans may look like. Shit, that doesn't look too far off from how people look today. A study commissioned by Los Angeles-based telecommunications provider tollfreeforwarding.com warns that overusing technology could be steering human evolution in a direction that leaves people looking deformed. Researchers worked with a 3D designer to create images of a future human that accounts for all the problems long-term tech use may cause. The research project led to the development of the 3D model named Mindy Kaling. Researchers predict that office work and craning the neck to look at smartphones will lead to humans having a hunched back in the future. Currently, many people constantly adjust their positions to look down at their phones or to look up at their office screens. Studies show that this strains parts of the body that affects posture. One of the most noticeable changes is the development of text claw, a new term that describes how the human hand starts to permanently take the shape of a claw due to constantly holding a smartphone. Future humans may also evolve to have a 90-degree elbow thanks to the excessive use of cell phones to make calls. This condition, would leave the elbow permanently bent at a 90-degree angle, the model of Mindy predicts that humans may end up developing a unique defense against too much blue light from digital devices, a second eyelid. Previous studies have found that blue light exposure can disrupt sleeping patterns, leading to insomnia and other health problems. Excessive screen time can also lead to headaches, eye strains, and even poorer vision, especially among children. Finally, Mindy reveals that future humans will likely suffer from a serious case of tech neck, where the muscles grow to limit the damage due to poor posture. Moreover, Mindy's skull is thicker to help protect the human body from damaging radio frequency waves, allegedly coming from smartphones. And not allegedly, they come from smartphones as well as all this other technology we're surrounded by. And I liked in this image that we're talked about the thicker skull. It said a thicker skull and a smaller brain. And as we read from that article on endoftheamericandream.com, according to scientists, our brains have gotten smaller. And again, I'm not putting 100% stake on that computer model that those scientists use, but I just used it to show that even Esau's technology shows that humans in the future are going to be weaker and more dumbed down than they are now, just as we're of less stature than our forefathers from the past. It just to further show that the true science, the true truth, things that these so-called scientists and people in the know are getting the understanding of now were already talked about and predicted in the scriptures written thousands of years ago before modern technological innovations, so to speak. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.